send that off to you in your own private YouTube here, guys, so that you have that. And I'm gonna just minimize. Excuse me, 1 second. If that GoToMeeting bar is in your way, you can just choose the arrow and it kind of scoots everything off to the side there. So I'll go ahead and send that off to the side. I'm going to minimize this screen and get you up to Retail Pro. And yeah, and has anybody seen Retail Pro before? Or is this your first look at it?
It's my first look at it.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we have some new advantages. And are you a not-for-profit? Forgive me, I should have done a little more research on that piece. But are you not-for-profit?
We're a federal agency.
Okay.
So not exactly not-for-profit.
Nowadays, but no, yeah. I was thinking of some donation roundup tools and things like that you donate for an organization, and so tons of museums, hundreds of museums and not-for-profits and hospitals and things that help pay for certain things. So it is nice that we have one of those devices that kind of faces the customer, that you could say, do you want to round the 99 cents for the organization?
Yes, that is something we'd like to do.
Okay, wonderful. So I just popped up to the main screen here, but before I jump right into it, and I like to just show the software. We aren't big on PowerPoints and things like that around here. We just, the software itself, we go through and put in some inventory. We go through and show you auto PO, because a lot of what you have are just based on pictures that I saw online are mugs and keychains and T-shirts and things like that. So this system can keep you in stock on certain product that is reorderable, and it could even kick out suggested purchase orders. So we'll go through and look at that. Receiving vouchers, kind of what's shown up at the back door that you tag and receive, and I can show you how the system does that. Received is what it sounds like. It's the point of sale section of the system. We do have a nice walking around browser. Pad Mini and such. So we'll show you some different options there, because we do have a few.
Okay.
And then sales orders is more like a plan to sell. So if somebody ordered a framed picture of the Muddy Waters, I'm trying to think of the record, an old label or something, and you do something custom, do you do anything like that they'd have to come back later?
We have some prints that we function in that capacity.
Okay, so somebody might order a special custom print. Do they do it from your website, or do you have an integrated website with the Microsoft AX Dynamics?
No, that's one of our challenges, is they would do it from our website, but it is not integrated. Okay,
gotcha. So I can show you that. We do integrate to Magento and Shopify, BigCommerce, and the big guys out there. Okay. Do you have a website already that you're trying to integrate, or no?
It would be Shopify. We have a Shopify site.
Shopify. Okay, perfect. You have a few options for Shopify, and it's a nice, strong, simple, straightforward web shopping cart there. So yeah, we'll dig into that. And then, I saw that you do book signings, such like that. So the mobile might be a nice option for you. I'll that for you. So just real quick, I wanted to go to our web just to show you a couple things, which is on YouTube. If you type in, Big Hairy Dog, you can go here, and I typed in museum, and it just brought up a bunch of our different, museums. We do, USS Hornets Air and Space Museum, and like I say, just hundreds. And I think of, our museums, our national parks. We do almost all the big national parks, like Yosemite, Yellowstone, Grand Canyon, Sequoia, Canyonlands, those guys too. And it is kind of, the reason I'm even giving them as examples along with museums is because we do hard goods and soft goods very well, which means the T-shirt, which is the size run and the different colors that it comes in. But then the one-of-a-kind item that you put in very quickly, we just can put in an item in seconds. So I'll show you that. And we, of course, have wonderful import tools for pushing a lot of data in and dropping it in. And I'll give you some great references around here too. So,
okay.
So what is the goal on the timing, just real quick, for placing that Deirdre Lake within the next 2 months, 6 months? Is it just a big picture project right now, or?
Well, I would hope in the next 3 months we procure through the federal system, so it's layered. And right now, this project is in the queue, and that's why my team is viewing it. I wanted them to be familiar with different types of solutions, and this one I believe have. It is a contender, so I just wanted them to become familiar to start to see what's out there. So
Sure.
they're going to be on my evaluation panel so that they're familiar and know what the capabilities are. And when the proposals come in, be more versed in the questions and what they should be asking for different proposals, not just for retail.
Well, you just have a sample RFP, and we have done, like, we do the same thing. We do a lot of big, when up the parks. It's like South Carolina Parks is 60 plus parks that we did have to go through the bidding process. It's all very, it's 4 state parks as an example, and so we're very familiar with that. I do have a sample RFP that I'll send you that might be questions we hope you're asking all of us, all systems, and it's got a few columns to put some of the other contenders there. And it's things like, can I delete an item and keep the history? Or, do we have an unlimited size scale? Can I put in hundreds of items at a time? Things like that. So it's a nice list of questions that, again, we just hope you're, in comparing us apples to apples. So I'll send that out. I just made some notes there.
Okay.
So, just what we'll do first, like I said, is just go through the basics that are kind of listed on the side here. We'll go put in inventory first. The center of the screen that you're seeing, there's a motorcycle guy there. At California, which is more of the gear like the helmets and the gloves and the jacket and things, but typically for 1-2 store mom and pops, Retail Pro has 54,000 installations in 131 countries. 10 minutes down the road from Retail Pro corporate. The corporate office is in Folsom, California, and they've got 100 folks. And then we are in Sacramento, and always sell and support this one package for 27 years. And I've been there 25 years, just right out of college. So this is kind of all I know. And so I can tell you a lot of my competition out there, and I have actually done some references who've been down the RMS, Microsoft Dynamics, and I'll bring that to you as well. I've got some good folks that maybe have had some experience with both.
Okay.
So, first thing we'll just go put in some product, and then we'll go show you purchasing and auto PO, and I'll try and point out the big differences of things that I hope you're asking out there too. So inventory, I'll drill right down into the main inventory list. And sorry, I meant to tell you that Microsoft or the motorcycle guy there, that could be your web store. That could be just a picture of your logo. That could be an opening, closing checklist. I happen to have it pointing to our browser-based POS, which you can walk around with with an iPad or a mobile device and run what's called Prism, which is just our a little bit more nice graphics for the POS. In fact, before I go too deep, I want to show you just some samples. It's on the back of my screen there, which you probably saw. But here's just some examples of what the point of sale could look like. So Retail is doing it right. They do have 30 years of development and features under their belt here. So they couldn't do it all at once, but chose the point of really current looking. So we realize we're competing with cloud-based systems out there. We are not cloud-based. We are on-premise, but point of sale is browser-based, which just means you could walk around and hit Chrome and really sell from anywhere in the world and be drawing from that database that's on the back end. Hopefully that makes sense. And just to give you, again, a couple peeks at some other systems out there, here's one that we developed for just for one of our franchise shops. They've got 50 or so franchise flip-flop shops, and this is just to show you that the hardware can look current and kind of nice. Here's one other, but I don't want you to think we're just apparel. I just happen to come from an apparel show, so I have some of these script designs. But we do Puma, and the backdrop for Puma is the cat. So they're better, stronger, faster. But again, most of our clients, I don't want to blow you with these big guys. Most of them are the 1- and 2-star mom and pops that start bursting at the seams there. So So that front end can look gorgeous. We have that club in our bag for the aesthetic. The back end, is still, we care about function, and ease of use at on purchasing and receiving and reporting. So it does look a little, less current on the back, but chunk module by module, they will replace this, and so that we're not kind of pulling right out and just going to a new version that isn't full of features. So, so this is a list of inventory, and just searching for something. I think I put in a cherry blossom book there for you. And if I didn't, nope, I've got a squash blossom necklace. So when I'm doing a search, you can see I found at least what I was looking for there. Let me do this. I'm going to go put in that book for you, but I'm going to type in hardback just to get us a little closer to something. So when I do a search, my search bar is on the very top, and it's designable. So right now I'm searching by an attribute, which is the hardback or a combination of that. And you can see we've got different books here that I dropped in over time. And I did do that Muddy Waters record. And I can just go to form view and see things as well as lineal view. So clicking on one button on the top brings me to this form view of this inventory item. And you can just see that I've got plenty of room for describing it. I can enter inventory right from here if I want to. Typically, though, you're doing a copy and a paste. So, so for a hardback, like a book or something, let's see if I've got, here's the America's Greatest Library. Again, just to show you, here's the lineal view. I've got a big section here where I can put in any detailed notes that I want about this product. I can print a tag for it that is the size of my hand if I want, that we call a shelf tag. And I think about the books in relationship to like Borders books, where you want a sticker that you can peel off almost if you want. In this one, obviously it's more like, the size of my hand. I don't know what you might use for, maybe shipping something to someone, or it could be a shelf tag, but I would think typically they might be a little bit smaller. Let me go to one that is the size that I'm thinking of for you. So here's one that you might print that's in that super sticky that could just peel off of a book, like a Borders book peel, but they're a little bit, 2 inch by 1 inch or something. So the tag stock itself, we'd have your logo. We could, for jewelry items, you'd make the one that looks more like a little dumbbell. And I'll get to that and show you some pictures of different tag stock in a different place here in a minute. But I just want you to see that this is, this is one item, and I could go through and fill it in that view if I want, or I could fill it in left to right here for an item.
So real quick,
sure.
Those item notes and the image, is that just being seen by back office?
It's completely up to you. As far as these screens, you see how some of the buttons are dim, like the save button and the cancel.
Sure.
If I'm a cashier, I don't even get to go here. So the security levels with the system are totally layered. I've got it set for just full-on open security so that I can do anything. But in real life, we would tool that down. It's who you are. And pardon me, do you have one location or two stores, two bookstores?
We have one. Well, we're going to have two. That's another reason we're looking at a new system. Currently, we're operating out of one space, but that one space within the next 18 months is going to be split into two spaces. Okay,
perfect. So we definitely have a nice connection between the two locations, and we aren't reliant on the internet. We use a high speed to communicate in the background, no touch a button or do anything. But the quantity and between locations is shared. So you can you'll see company-wide on hand, but you'll also be able to see. You won't even have to push this button. I have a column for store 2 there that'll go right by store 1. If like we have a nice option where you just be able to see, or you can always press a button and see company-wide. We've got 99. They're all at the warehouse. I'm set up for up to 8 stores here, where I could have basically a quantity in each one of these stores if I'd like. So it is multi-store. One thing that, just to show you left to right here for this particular product, and we've got, like I say, searchability. So if I did the word, great, as well as hardback book, it's going to find those two features and just see that one book matches and go find that for me. So you can see that search bar on the top helps hone in on what you're looking for. And you could have author, you could make up your own fields there. It's completely designable. And by that, I mean, you don't need a programmer, but I could say, I don't want a description 3 in there. I want to look by the weight of something, or the artist, or the vendor. So all these fields that are just drag and drop, and I won't, you won't care about width of or weight of something, but I just want you to see that it's designable to the degree that whoever you determine is your program person, your system administrator, we call it, can do that kind of thing. And not, not everybody in the company, obviously, but you want someone to be able to just right click and drag and drop and be able to save things to the screen there for you.
So would these be unique? So what you just did, if I decide to put weight on mine, would that be just on my screen, or would it be
You could,
everybody?
yes. So it is tailorable per person. So if you wanted to have, your screen, sometimes the buyer looks things up very differently than the person who is, ringing up sales or even an accounting person, a person on the back end there. So we just, I can go in and basically design this to look the way I want, right click, save it. And now I've got this, something that I can do as a little drop down weight here. So it is per person, and that's every screen. So, and you can lock people out of getting to screens. Buyers don't necessarily need to go into point of sale. Cashiers don't go into, inventory, editing roles. All of that are very tailored down to the check mark. You have columns of features, and you can check and uncheck things. Like, he can add a client or a customer, but he can't delete one. He can, modify inventory and so forth. You can check all off. So,
are there predefined roles in Retail Pro? So you were talking about the cashier versus the system administrator versus the buyer. Are there like recommended prescribed roles? Or
there are, so you don't have to live there, is what you mean, right? So first off, you can set up groups like buyers and system administrators and POS folks and managers.
Okay.
And then and then you can set up certain password and extra strong passwords, and you can set up a password per person if you really want to. But what I like is when you're setting up your employees, we can copy over those roles. Pardon me, let me get to the right place there. Excuse me. If we go to groups again for a second here. So just going to, policy groups, form view is what I wanted there. Permissions. So if I go drill down into, who gets to do what, with the accounting link or in the business intelligence or Retail Pro promotions modules, it's checking things off like this to allow. And you do that once with your personal trainer that we assign to you, and they kind of bend it to how you do this, and you can copy that over to a division, like just a group of buyers, so you don't have to set it up per person. Or if you've got, a manager and then a key holder, and they're close but a little different, you can rename a group, key holder, and take away a few of the managerial functions. So.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's just something to set up once, and then you don't have to live there a lot, but definitely go through, and you can modify it any time. Nothing's in stone there. So going back to inventory, I did want to show you, so there's two ways, really three ways to put in inventory, forgive me. So one is we have wonderful import tools. So if you, some people get online with vendors and they have to go through their website to do things, and we do companies that do, Begonia, or they do, whoever forces you to go to their website. And then they have a tool that can pull what you did there and drop it down into our purchase order, so you don't have to do double entry. It's just because a vendor makes you go do their web way to do that, and it puts in hundreds of items at a time. It's really nice. Another way is the copy paste that I was just gonna show you. So I did the word hardback there, and then we went in and put in again, the greatest, if I put in the word library or whatever, it doesn't care that it's the last word in that description. It's going to go find it, and it's uppercase, lowercase, it doesn't care. It's really forgiving. So it goes and hones in on that. What I wanted to show you is alternate lookup. This number here would import over from RMS Dynamics. So, Microsoft Dynamics. So Microsoft Dynamics would have a number that it recognizes, and it would lob that right in here as the number, whatever it is. And then you don't have to retag this. That's important. So you can just scan that barcode from that former system, and you won't skip a beat. You'll roll right into Retail Pro here. Then department class, subclass. This is something that your current system has too. I'm certain of it. And you'd go through and maybe you wanted us the current number. That's okay. Maybe you change it to be alphabetical like we like it. We have 3 for department, 3 characters, which could be numbers or letters or a combination. we have a class, and then we have a subclass. So all of these could be whatever you'd like them to be, but they set a foundation for one level of reporting in the system. So you can kind of just run a B report, and it would give you all books, or you can compare softback to hardback books, or you can drill down into a third layer that you determine with your personal trainer. One thing about having a personal trainer too is that you know, they'll check off a syllabus with you that you got it on purchasing, got it on receiving, got it on reporting, and then it's free forever with them. So you can call them and book time and say, let's go over that auto reorder thing again. That blew by me. Let's do it again. And you'll never see another bill from us. We make sure you know it and that you get the most out of it. So so that free refresher training is my favorite. Anyway, so this is something you'll come up with and kind of work through with them and bat it back and forth, but you can't screw it up. SFB or something here, you can say find, you know, SFB and replace it with, you know, SB, and it would go backwards and change every invoice ever made. So
Wow.
you can't make a mistake. It changes history, which is really awesome. It's part of what a relational database, why we love our relational database. Anyway, so there's that, department classes, subclasses for getting one level of reporting out of the system. You can report on anything, though. I could report on the word, you know, not library, but it would be something hardback, or I could do, you know, report on just because you have the you know, the cherry blossom festival, you can do show me anything with cherry blossoms if you wanted. Anyway, here's the vendor code, and this is just a little Rolodex of first day on the job. You'd go put in all your vendors, and that's the hard part. And once they're in there, they're in there. So then you've got, you know, you can draw from them, and those do pull through to, you know, accounting. I don't, because what is your accounting? It's tied in with the AX, right? So you're placing your accounting and your retail, right?
Yes.
Okay, so have you looked at accounting packages too, or you want? And we tie into a lot of the big guys. We tie to Great Plains. We tie to QuickBooks, obviously, all the layers of QuickBooks Enterprise. We tie to Sage. We tie to Sage 100, 200, 300. And what are you looking at?
Well, right now we want this retail pro system or whatever system we select. We want it to be able to generate basic reporting, basic financial
We've
reporting.
got that. We've got all that. But what we aren't is a true accounting system. We tie into, and you know, for a few $100, we buy the account package, and then they have different layers of account. Hard to shift, but it's better to, I think, to the best accounting packages on the market and just send the numbers in properly than
Well,
to try
we
and
are
keep up with.
required, I'm sorry, we are
Oh, go ahead.
required to use the library's financial accounting system. So
Oh,
basically what we have to do is map the financial reporting out of whatever retail system we select to Momentum, which is what the library uses. That's used across a lot of federal agencies, and this is
got it.
called Momentum.
Wonderful. So I just made a note of that, and we'll talk about that at the end because we do have a universal accounting link that I would like to. I'll check in with our developer too and see what we have there if there's been something already done.
Okay.
But we do have a universal accounting link that can send the data where we want it to go and then be picked up by the accounting potentially there. So I'll have to put a pin in that one and get back to you. So the description one is 30 characters. We have 4 big fields like that, so plenty of room to put a description of the product, the book, the author, and I can just move these fields around and right click and add description 2, description 3, description 4. So all of this is just like a big spreadsheet, literally. And then we have this wonderful copy face, so I save what I'm doing in there, and then it's copy and paste. So I would just say hardback, then this is a, softback is also what it comes in here, just to give you a sample of what we do. So it makes its own number and generates a unique number.
Mm-hmm.
And I can put in the quantity I want or how many books. We do, you want to change it just a little bit there to be a little bit different than and I can break those two styles together, and I'm going to say affect the item and break it. So it gives me two segmented and separate items. And oops, I've got one in softback here too. So 1 second here, let me take out the hardback and it'll put that back in there. So I've got 3 different things in this. Let me go to form view on this one for a second. Yep. So, and I I threw in some other images, but just to give you a sense of it, I can right click and go get a picture of something, and I happen to have some pictures in here, and I grabbed oh, you have a beautiful cherry blossom festival there, and just to give you an idea, it's the picture. What I can do with we do have one integration that goes up through to the web. So if we want to put in some pictures here and have them go up through to the web for Shopify as placeholders, we might circle back and do a little sharper picture, but at least it's a placeholder for that picture. We can do that.
Can it work the opposite way where it goes to
Yes.
Shopify back to the item description?
And I'll confirm for you, because before I say yes for Shopify, we kind of major, Magento, Shopify, BigCommerce, Woo. So before I say yes to it, let me write that one down too, because it does do a push and a pull of, sort of a long description. Every field pushes up through to the web, so you don't have to go manage that and put in all this information there. And then the orders come down through that bridge tool, and they decrement the inventory, and they make a pick it, pack it, ship it list, and it's all seamless and integrated, and it's a nice flow with the web. So, so it does save you time in both directions. The orders go right in; they're prepaid through authorized.net or however somebody paid on the web, and then we've got to pull it to Retail Pro. And as it goes in as a commitment. It's not reducing the inventory live, because you don't want it to do that. You want it to show you that you had 5 of this book and now you have 4, because 1 is spoken for on the misorder. So, so we do have this elegant directional push pull. So as I said, it's just sort of a copy paste that we do. That's one way to do things. The other is, let me go into, just grab something here. Cancel that, and I'll put in Yellowstone just as a descriptor, because I've got a bunch of different sweatshirts and things here. So just to show you how this works, there's a style view button, and I guess I should ask, I'm sorry, I didn't see t-shirts, but I'm assuming t-shirts. Is there any soft goods, or do you do t-shirts or
Lots.
anything? You do?
Yes.
Okay, good. So, so again, we do soft goods and hard goods very beautifully. The grid really is what sets us apart. And I threw things in all over the place here, but so they're a little backwards. I should have fixed that. But just to give you, sizes across the top, unlimited, and then down the left side, unlimited colors or attributes. That could be anything. And the reason that we do a lot of shoe and apparel shoe, we do Puma and Under Armour and names you'll recognize, and the Prada, Gucci, Fendi's the world, t-shirts and things are, the size grid is what's special, and the attributes going down the left side. And every cell can have a different price and a different cost. So if this was a candle, small, medium, large, but totally different costs, completely different prices, that's okay. It's still in one matrix grid can have those different prices and costs. Or in the case of a product, it's these, 3 and 4X, which I should have flipped before we started, but they can have a different cost. Obviously, you might pay more for a triple XL or a 4XL. So when I say new, just to go put in the grid just to show you something here, because this is, again, what's kind of special is the scale. These are template boilerplates that I can just type in t-shirt, or maybe I name it t-shirt small to 2XL, and it just grabs these starting point jumping off places for me.
Mm-hmm. So
with that, then I've got department class, subclass here. So again, this might be something you work through with your trainer initially. That's it's women's t-shirt, short sleeve, something along those lines. And then I could run women's; it'd give me all women's. I could run men's. I could run youth. Or if you ran T, like the mid-tier, the class of this in a report, it would give you all of it: women's, men's, youth. So comparing them or consolidating, it really does set a nice foundation there for the reporting. And we do help you with all that. So vendor code, I'm going to just put in Nike just to have something there, and then we'll do that this is a T with logo for LOC. Okay, and then a style number. You've got 30 characters there, 30 characters there, lots of space. E-commerce is more just so that I can tag this for my own reportability of what's an e-commerce product. The cost on this, let's say, is $8, and watch what it does. It's got a 60 margin here, so it makes a suggested price of $20. It would have automatically rounded that $19.99, but let's just for fun say it's $22.99 just to show you how it affects the margin. So a lot of systems, it lops off that 0.20, and that's not good for a big picture when you're selling tons of t-shirts. That's going to be bad over time. So so it doesn't round up or round down. It does fractional margins, which is great. It's with what you're making on it, which is the margin dollars, and then coefficient is more European. It's like, oh, we want to do a 2.5 or a 2. That's a 50% margin, so it could also calculate that way. Season code I made up, fall, spring, winter. You can make up literally anything you want here. You could actually make the cherry blossom season in there, or cherry blossom 2019 or what have you. You've got I made up European and UK for shoe sizes, but I can right click, get rid of those, and put something I do care about in there, whether it's the author or the something, some kind of a if it's a collection piece or who knows what, or maybe if it's in a double print. So all of this is very tailorable. I know I'm blowing through it kind of fast for you, but I am recording so you guys can have this as you're on YouTube there too. So, but please feel free to shout out questions. I just threw in 2 of everything, and I'm going to just save it. And I wanted you to see that it puts in a ton of product all at once very quickly. So just using this matrix grid is, if you have to put it in on the fly and you're not using an import tool, this is a way to just put in tons of product all at once there for sizes and colors. Any questions on that, or?
I did it down, and if I'm not mistaken, let's say you have your cost and you know what your margin is, or you know what your margin should be, you can put in the margin and it'll tell you the price?
Yes, you sure can. So let's say that I'm just throwing in a screen there for us, but let's say that we want to put in a margin of a margin of 50, and so these 3 fields play off each other, and that's really important because a lot of systems make you manually calculate and pull out your calculator to get this done, when this is the basics of it. I bought it for $8, I'm selling it for 16, that's a 50 margin. And if I say I want to get a 60 margin, it'll tell me then sell it for 20, I think it'll be $20. So if I click on it, it's going to just say $20. And there's a rounding function that's really nice that you can set ranges and say, if it's under 30 set by a penny, and it would have automatically done your $19.99 for you as suggested jumping off point. But you can, of course, override it any way you want there with the proper security to do so.
Cool. Thank you.
Yes. And I just threw in a picture, but going back to the grid for a second. So again, with the 2XL, if that had a different cost, or if I just want to add colors for the season, it also comes in red, and it comes in yellow, and it comes in melon, or what have you. And then the sizes also, if I get it right this time, do 3XL, just to show you, it puts a little asterisk next to the things that are new, because it's basically saying, if you went back to your template, your boilerplate that we grab and use all the time, it won't have those unless you go change your template, which you can do at any time. So this is just a way to, like I say, quickly add in and see your totals, and you can see it by store too. This is a multi-store grid. So I've got all 8 stores in there in this little drop down that I'll show you as soon as it enters those items. So the reason it takes a few seconds here is because it's literally touching, for me, 50,000 rows of inventory. It's updating everything. So so if I changed cost, if I changed price, it's letting it's basically going through every single row to let it know. And I'm going to all right here, where you can see here is the color on the far left. These are my stores broken out now because it is a multi-dimensional grid. And I like to flip store to the far left. So there it is. So then I got 000, that's my warehouse. I have store 1, store 2, and with a nice big monitor, I mean, you could really see a lot better on your screen than what I'm showing. I'm kind of crunched to the left here, but anyway, so let me flip back to warehouse. So seeing things like this, like if my 3XL cost more, I've got this wonderful grid values section here. Right now we're looking at quantity. but I could go down and say, let's look at the unit cost, and I'm gonna set that off and say, instead of $8, maybe these cost me $9. So again, tall stores love us, and we can find a way to do this for a lot of different things. Even if it was a print that you have framed small, medium, large, they're three totally different costs, three different prices. That's something that you can decide, and then you get a different price. Maybe this is $22 because we pay a little bit more for this. So that's up to you. Keeping it all in the same grid and be able to see in one place what you have on hand. And that's, some people think, oh, that's not that important. I can look around in my inventory, but it is nice, to be able to see it that way and for auto reorder. And I'm betting that you have a lot of reorderable product. I do at NS, the Daughters of the Revolution, excuse me, and Asdar. Anyway, they do the same thing. It's like jewelry, scarves, pins, for the Daughters of the Revolution, but always have to have so many of each. For example, like you want, copies of the Constitution, whatever it is. You guys have to have those posters, those mugs. So being able to put in a minimum and say, I always want at least, I'm going to trick this and tell it, I could go in and say 5. I'm going to actually do it up here and just hit them all at the same time. So I can say I want 5 of everything on this t-shirt. But it's probably, if you had to guess at it, reorderable, how much of your product would you say is reorderable as opposed to things you blow out and you just never carry again? Would you say more than 50%?
It's a large percentage. It's
Yeah.
a very large percentage.
Yeah, I'd say it's closer, and of course you get things that are seasonal, you blow them out, you never see them again, and mark them down, we have a wonderful markdown tool, by the way, that you can mark down by season. You can give me anything that was marked as Easter or holiday or anything, and you can say 10%, 20%, blow it out based on seasons or a keyword search. So I've tricked it here. It thinks I've sold down to 2 for every one of these t-shirts as an example. So when I tell it to walk the floor and kick out a suggested purchase order for me, it's going to see that I've down to 2 and suggest 3 more to bring me to my 5. So that's not the slick part. The slick part is that it learns from its history. So let's say you've had us for 6 months in there. You don't need 5, you need 10 this month, you need 12 next month. So it will fine tune itself and tell you what your minimum should be and maximums. And it'll even round a case pack. So if that was a mug and you can only buy it in a 12 pack or a 6 pack, it would round to 12. So hopefully that makes sense to everybody. Let's go look at it though, and I'll show you.
It does make sense, but I have a question about seasonality. When it's doing that, does it understand your seasonality?
So it's not that smart. It's smart, and you get to help it. There's something called formula, and I'll be glad to send you our white paper on what formula is. I'm going to write that down. So formula is, so you can say, go look at this month out of the year every year for the last 3 years, and it's smart enough to see that time period and make a suggestion. So in a way, so we can set up these minimums based on you as well. You can say, I want 40 to 60 days of supply, or the greater of this number, and it's got the logic there to help you to make a suggestion. It will go look at, I got people who go look at back to school from this date to this date, or Christmas from this date to this date, or Valentine's Day every year. So it does look at a day, but it wouldn't truly understand true seasonality to make that suggestion for you without a little help.
Okay.
But it does do some good things here, and it does round a case packs, and pretty soon it does really help you. I like to say that for that reorderable stuff, we can put it on autopilot to a certain degree, and then you still want a human being, helping with that. But so I'm going to do, so that's a Nike, and Nike is the vendor, and it's LOC is the word, and let's just go find it. Before we leave here, though, I just wanted to show you a couple things. That find and replace is everywhere, so you can, find and replace, by a vendor's name. They change their vendor name. Being able to search on the top, and then there's some nice things on the side here. There's a history button where you can click and see everything that happened to that sweatshirt or to that book, and when it was bought, when it was sold, and it's by section, received, everything. So it's a wonderful history button there. We do have promotional pricing where you can set it up and say, like postcards, or I've got all sorts of weird things in here. T-shirt pricing, 1 for $10, 2 for $18, 3 for $26. So just some super simple things that we can set up. I've got all sorts of weird stuff in here, but one postcard is $1, two for $175, three for $250, and so on. You set these up, and it gives it a number. That's promo 8, and then there's a column that you just put an 8 next to things, and that's what it's going to be then. So these are super simple to set up. That's one way. We also do true buy one get ones that are thoughtful, that really understand that if you bought 4 posters and there's one that was $20, there's one that was $10, it segments that $20 one and sets it aside that it
Yes.
So anyway, so I'm going to go all the way out. Let's go have it walk through and pick out that suggested purchase order for us. It'll help pay for the system. This and also that donation roundup tool actually has been helping. Yosemite Conservancy was one of ours that said it helped pay for their system in the first year, just by rounding that 79 cents, that 20. Foreign locations there but here's where I can say, just look at, if I'm responsible as a buyer just for a couple stores, I could put those in and have it hone in on those. I won't go into all the depths of this, but it does see what's in transit between 2 stores. If your stores were farther apart, I don't think they would be, but it would see what's being transferred between them. It sees your web sales. It sees anything on layaways, special order, custom order, and it takes all that into consideration. And that's important when it's walking the floor to kick out suggesting more product, because you don't want to reach into your pocket to pull out money to buy more things unless you have to. So there's a couple things that it's doing, but it does see that you've got so many web sales and such. Here's where I could say, I just went to a trade show, and from this date to this date, exclude those purchase orders, but I'm going to leave it wide open here. I can say, let's look at the minimum, a maximum, or even a custom level during peak season, like if it was, you were doing something for the Cherry Blossom Festival, and you'd put that in there and have a certain time period you want to have it look at, and then set up a 95% to the max. But again, I'm going to just say that minimum level of 5 we're going to look at. And here's where I can, this is a filter. So the filters throughout the whole system. And I could say, I'm going to do, my vendor is Nike, and just something with LOC in the title of it. And that's what I believe I put in there for the t-shirt. So unless I'm mistaken, hopefully it's looking at all of that. It goes out, walks the floor, comes back with a suggestion from the system that is going to say, here's that Nike t-shirt, short sleeve tee, and it's for the LOC logo. It's saying you have 2 on hand, you need 3 more to bring up to your 5, right? Because we don't have any history to draw from. It's just, it's just going off of what I set it as a trigger number as a minimum, and I can say okay, and it makes me a purchase order. So it makes a real purchase order in the system, and from the auto PO section. And now if I go into purchase orders, it's going to have a purchase order right there. So do you use purchase orders in your current Microsoft Dynamics system?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So purchase order, and you got to keep in mind that I just threw pictures on the screen here, and this looks the way I want it to, but in real life, this could be a blank screen to start, or we give you some templates that have the basics in fields, and then I right-clicked and I added this picture and your logo, but this can look how you'd like. So just as an example, it added all these products in here with quantity of 3. You guys can see that. And I can still modify it. It's just a worksheet. So if I wanted to change these quantities, I can. I could add another product right from the purchase order. So our purchase order is, I could add an item and it would put it in inventory with zeros until we receive it. And it would put it on the PO all in one step. So a lot of systems, you have to go put it in inventory and then put it on the purchase order, and it's a 2-pronged process. Retail Pro is one step, and of course we could also pull in from your vendor POs down into this purchase order, and it could drop the data right in here. And all you'd have to do is put in a department, class, subclass, because how would they know? There's no way for them to know how you would categorize things on your vendor side. Does that make sense to everybody so far?
It does. I wanted to verify that just as you did it by that SKU, can I run, I'm assuming I can just run a vendor and all the items under Nike International can populate based on the men's and maxes
Oh
that
yes, I could have filtered on anything. I could absolutely filter on anything. And the same with marking down the product, but yes, I could
Mhm.
filter that same way to do a sale. If I've got people who on Valentine's Day search by anything with the word pink or red, and that's it's a luxury shop. It's 10% off all of that for that day, and literally you don't have to touch an item. You could just scan it. The system knows. So the filter is amazing for honing in on product and doing markdowns or doing, like you said, min-max levels. One thing about this in your multi-store, you're going to be, it's important. What I started to go into is that min-max is one level where as you send a purchase order out in the world and you receive it, the system is smart enough to kind of distribute the product in a sense, and it can balance and set up an automated transfer based on stock level. So if you were out at one store and you had a
Mhm.
lot at the other store, it's smart enough to say, let's fill you to your minimum over there first, which is 5. So it gives 5 over to that second store, and it fills you to your minimum over here at the main store. And there's logic in the background and things you can help to tweak and set it up so that it feels the way you want. But those min maxes could be done in that way. But it's
Mhm.
also smart enough that as it's walking the floor and normally don't have that out there. So you end up spending more money than you need to as a as a not a not for profit, but a money in pocket. So right here on these quantities, let's say this looks pretty good. This is the purchase order that it made a suggestion. I could add new product here. I could do whatever I want. It's marked for in the upper left there where I could drop ship it or make it marked for a certain store. It brought in Nike and just to show you, I mean, I've thrown Nike in and apparently Nike's not probably the best one to use anymore. They've taken away a lot of their smaller guys out there in the world. But anyway, this is the Rolodex on it, so I could say I get free freight at $1,000, or there's little alerts that you could put in there. It wouldn't, if you said free freight at $1,000, it's not going to do the work for you there, but it could be a nice big red alert for the buyer that if you were doing a book run and it was $995, it would at least be a visual alert for the buyer to say, well, let's add one more book in there to get the free freight. But it won't just trigger it for you there. So just a note of that. But it is nice for the alert. The terms pulled through, this is where in Nike's Rolodex I put 2% 10 at 30, but we could change this to be just, COD or 90 days or whatever. The order date is today. The ship date is in a couple weeks. And if this is not in my back door by, let's say, June 15th, I want to be red flagged about that. So these dates are all reportable. And one thing that I love is I can have it scheduled on a script to automatically email every day at midnight or at 9 a.m. to go to my iPhone, which is basically just an email that says who's past cancel as of yesterday. So when you don't have product, you're losing money. When you get long sleeve too soon or the wrong season, you're losing money. So it's important to be able to see right then and there beforehand let's cancel as of yesterday and get on the phone and say where's our product and what's going on. So it's proactive versus reactive, and that helps with those. The PO number was assigned, but I could freeform change it right here if I wanted to be whatever I want. I could take out the numbers. I can say this is, Nike or whatever. And that's just sort of a red flag when you see something. It could have the date so that as it's showing up at the store, you can say, whoa, past cancel date, and that's the cancel date in there. So they can refuse it right away. So it's nice that it's adjustable on the PO number. We've got all these places to put in any notes you want. Ship complete, include PO number on the packing slip. It did pull in the vendor's email right there, so we can just copy this and email this. There isn't an email built into the system, but it does let you make it nice and easy to just save this, email this off, and I'll print it right now just to show you.
Okay.
I actually don't know that I didn't put your logo on the top of the document, but you'll get just a sense of what it can look like here. So we have grid purchase orders, and then we have what's called lineal purchase orders. And a lineal PO is just what it sounds like, line by line. So I'll show you both. So here's one, and we can just let's see, email this off to the vendor from here. I can drop down and do a PDF, but I'm going to just back out of there. So just to show you the one that I just want to give you a sense of it. So I say print, and then I'm going to print this lineal one here just to give you an idea, because probably this is how you wouldn't do the grid too often. You would do it more like this, line by line. Is that correct?
That's what we do now.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'll have to see the grid to see if we make it.
Well, the grid, I just kind of flipped it to the screen. I don't use the grid too much, except unless you're doing a lot of T-shirts or something, and then you could. So the printout could be whatever you want it to be. So just because the screen is one design, and everything is really designable and will bend to how you do business. So the screens can look the way you want. The tag stock can look the way you want. Every tag is totally designable with secret cost codes and secret date codes. The document here, this is a purchase order. Just because I had a PO price on my screen, it's none of your business what you're retailing it for. So what I took price off the screen, so it's just completely designable there. And then you email this off to the vendor, and there you go. So that's that. You can email documents, purchase orders right from Retail Pro. You can email the receipt right from Retail Pro. You can do a sales order, which is more of a plan to sell, right from Retail Pro as well. So that's just the purchasing section and auto PO, and just going back into purchasing for a second. So because you're multi-store, or you will be, you can receive centrally and distribute out to the stores. Like I said, it can be based on min-max level, where the system just kind of allocates it out to which location, or the buyer can decide in advance. There's a little button where you could say, I'm the buyer, I want it to allocate out item allocation, and you just predetermine where things go. Do you plan on just receiving into one location or drop shipping to both locations, or what's the plan there? Do we know yet?
We don't know yet.
Okay, so I just want you to see that if it did want to come centrally, that's fine. We could do it any way you want, but if you wanted to say, I want two to go here and one to go there, the buyer can go line by line and basically assign what goes to what store. Of the three, I want two here and one there, and then it's a plan. So it's an absolute no-brainer for the receiving guy, because it shows up at the back door and it will flash his screen and say, hey, I've got a transfer associated with this purchase order. Do you want to print your transfer slips? Yes, I do. So he prints them, and that kind of sucks in the product and spits it out onto a document, which is the packing slip, which is the transfer itself. So the system does the transfer for him. All he has to do is pack it and ship it off to store 2. So that's one way. There's always 3 or 4 ways to do everything in the system. Another is allocation, where if it was something like I've got sunblock or T-shirts, or I don't know, things that are, here's books, for example. Books, I just want a 50-50 split between store 1 and store 2. So if you assigned a book pattern to a book PO, then it shows up and it says, hey, there's a transfer. Do you want me to split it? And he says yes, and it just goes 50-50. 50 books there, 50 books here. So does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
So these are, you make up these, you can just name them, apply a pattern, name one, and he can assign them, and get that as a process for things that aren't size driven and really kind of don't matter too much. He can just do allocations there. The third way, like, is that min-max. And then the fourth thing is that it's smart enough to say, hey, don't even make a PO, make a TO, a transfer document, because we got oodles of this book over at store 2. So those are the 4 different things that I like to go through and show you, just that we are a little bit more advanced as a system than a lot of the, cloud-based, or the what I call the pretty face systems out there. They're gorgeous on front end, but not a lot of depth on the back end for helping you with precision inventory control. And AX Dynamics deeper, I think, we're probably that good fit that you're not going to feel like you went, to just a fractional system there.
Right.
So again, get into point of sale here, but so far I put in inventory. We did an automatically generated purchase order and modified it a little bit and sent it off in the world. And then we'd go to what we call a receipt voucher. This is the document that matters. Orders, you don't even have to use them. I could delete those buttons, and you could literally just phone in product and receive it. Although we love purchase orders and predicted cash requirements reports to say, pay this guy by this date and then this guy by this date. We have wonderful front end there, or excuse me, back of the house purchase orders. The voucher, though, changes quantities, and it's a permanent history document. So just like a sale invoice takes it out instantly and instantly changes the quantities, and you have a permanent paper trail on that you can't delete, the same thing can be said for this receiving voucher. So, I'm going to say new. And again, just to show you designing the screen, I don't want to blow you away with stuff, but I thought I had another shop that was going to be on as well that did turquoise and kind of Southwest stuff. But I threw your screen on behind it, so it's literally and I got two screens there, and then I put your screen on the background. But I just want you to see it's I've got tons of stuff here, and it's just drag and drop every field, not just this picture. But as another example, this print button, I got that off the internet, and I thought it was a nice print button, so I put it on top of my older gray button that's not as pretty. So while the point of sale is more like on a web page to make the point of sale look gorgeous, this is what you want it to be. Your personal trainer will start off with some samples as jumping off places. Some people can do that, and it's right. You can do it in seconds, not a lot of time like a web page would take. Anyway, so this is my screen that I like receiving. And UPS shows up at the back door, and I just kind of pretend that we rip open the box, pull out the packing. We go here and say, what did we actually get? This is receiving. So let's say that when I go to new, that all I know about it is that it's Nike, and I could go reference the PO or go look for the PO and search that way, or I can search by Nike. Either way, I think I'll go look by the PO numbers just because I got a lot of POs that'll come up there. So within the purchase order, naming it, that naming convention of by date or however you want to name it is nice. And see how there's some ebooks, and that could be by the receiving date as well. So it's 100% unfilled. I'm going to say that looks good. I'm gonna reference that one. So once we've referenced it, we can go to Pio Items, this little button in the middle, and it just shows me exactly what we should be getting. So I go in there, and it's going to give me, like I say, that mirror copy of what we should be getting. 5 of those, and so forth. I'd say receive due, and it just spits in the quantities of what I'm supposed to get. But I could say I got 0 of those, I got 3 of those, they short shipped me, and I got 0 of those. So the system will automatically track those back orders for us. I'm going to say okay, and it's going to bring it all to the main screen. And the second that I say update, it's in inventory, even before I can tag it and put it on the floor here. So I'm going to just say update. And that's it. It literally just changed most of my quantities to 5s in inventory. And it made a permanent receiving document for Nike that is with a voucher number. And that's it. I can always go back to it. In fact, I usually go here and I print tags from here. So I'd say print, and I tag design and spit out the tags. For a T-shirt, it would be a hang tag, or not a sticky tag, but you get the idea. So any questions about that, or?
Yeah, I do have a question. So if you have a back order and that back order hasn't been received, will it be smart enough in your next report when you run it to say that the back order is about to be canceled off? Like, will it show partials, or will it assume the order was received because you received part of it?
There's different ways people do that, and I'd say I do have people who come in every day and they print a back order report, and it will and they want to go physically tell people to cancel back orders, but I've got others who just cancel. We can set up a preference switch to say cancel and back order and archive it at 90 days or something. So it really depends on how you want to do it, but we could help kind of bend it to whatever your process is there. So.
All right.
I was going to say that on this receiving voucher, if you got the invoice a couple weeks later and you want that vendor wants to get paid, you could go in here to the invoice number, we have what we call an invoice reconciliation process. So you've got the invoice in your hand now, and it's days later, and you'd put in the invoice number and the date that it's okay to pay the vendor, Nike, for that $834, and you can say pay them on Friday the 22nd. And the second that you put those two fields in there, that is now tagged for transmission to either go on a report that we give to the financial person, or if we've written an integration to your financial momentum, it could drop that into the correct columns for the accounting automatically. I find people are different. Some people want it to go to a report, and then they want to go do their own posting. So we, of course, have that out of the box that we could do, that the people go post into Momentum. But our universal accounting link may also be something we can tweak to, or just modify a little bit to work with Momentum. So we'll have to let you know on that one. So again, those two fields, tag it, it goes through the link and puts in that 8 to 34, ties into accounts payable, accounts receivable, the general ledger. Any questions about that, or?
I don't have any.
Okay. And then I do want you to see that for books and for larger products or for heavier products, we do have a spread freight feature that may be more on the accounting side. Maybe it's something you might want to look at on the retail side, but freight. So on $834, let's just say that you got a freight bill and it's $200. I mean, just a big freight bill, right? So watch your margin of almost 60 and your cost, which is $8. I can say spread that freight of that $200 over the cost of goods, and let's see what it's doing to me. My vendor invoice date. Pardon me. I once I start this process, I got to get them both out of there, or else it doesn't like it. It wants to finish that off. So I'm going to say spread the freight of the $200. And it's going to say, well, your real margin is 50.38, and your cost went up, and your margin, so it goes through the process of saying, this is what it's doing to you to get books from California. Do you want to do that again? Maybe you go in and change your margin or something. So you can spread it and then unspread it, put it in a separate expense account. So margin goes down, cost goes up. Hopefully everybody gets that. It can be just something you play with to see, should we be charging more, or
right.
Yeah, and fees like small print fees or order fees. If you did a small book run or something and you're printing your own, I have all my big national parks print their own books, or they work through, I'm blanking what it's called, but they do their own prints for pamphlets and different books and things. But anyway, so there's fees and things you can apply that up across the product too. So I'm saving all that. We just received it, tagged it, put it on the floor, and then we can go sell it. So that's kind of the last section, and then I thought I'd show you. We have a min-max. I'm sorry, an XC out that I wanted to show you that is just sort of an end of day, and then some base reporting. Is there anything that you want to ask me now, or want me to zero in on before I go show you point of sale reports and maybe some mobile devices and things?
Gang?
I don't have any questions at the moment.
Okay.
Is Cheryl on the phone?
You're nice and easy then. What's that?
She was having audio problems. She can't hear. She can see the video presentation, but she
my
can't
chat
hear.
Manager. Yeah, because this next part is for her. Yeah.
Well, she can see and she can hear, or she cannot hear.
She cannot hear.
No.
Having issues quite a bit all day on other as well.
Oops, I'm so sorry. Hang on just a second there. Pardon me, 1 second. Okay. I want to go through and just make sure I've clicked everything for everybody there, so everyone can hear. And pardon me, 1 second. Okay, so I'm sorry, I can't see why we would have an audio problem there, but anyway, I'll just keep going, and like I say, I'll give this recording to you as well, so that you have that. Okay, wonderful. All right, so now point of sale, and let's see. So going to the POS section. So in the center of my screen here, I've got it set. So I've got my store operations and point of sale. So our core product, like say point of sale, I have that is the area that they've completely redone to look nice and new and current. And it does look like a web page. And I've dropped it into the center of my browser in the middle of the screen, which again could be your web store here, but I just happen to have it pointing to Prism, which you could have on a tablet. there's different options here. So this is just a regular point of sale screen. I can have quick reference words. I can do like SS I did for swimsuit. I've got a candy bar in here. I mean, it's typically though you're scanning, and I don't have my scanner plugged in so that you could hear it, but we do have a wonderful scanning, just quick and easy. It's a beep and it's on to the next thing there. So I've got, let's see, 13, 67, 16 is a product. Let's see what I got. So that's just a whales thing there. I've got a mug. Now, if it coincides with something else we've got, then I can click on the one that I want because I've got two things under mug there. So it's going to allow me to have a search that way. So that's for Pacific Whale Foundation. I can do a search by a keyword, and I've got, shift dress in there or something. Just doing some asterisks lets me search by complete, the complete database, and it tells me, hey, you've got more than 100 records displayed there, but it's still going to let me go do what I want to do and select it that way. So that's it. It's just scanning nice and simple at point of sale. I could type in last name Smith here and get a list of, customers. I don't know if you track customers by scanning badges or barcodes, but do you do anything like tracking your customer base and so that you can mail out to them and get them back in? Do you do members?
We don't, because we're very unintegrated at the moment. So that would be something I would like to, that we offer specific discounts, that
Yes.
those come with some sort of tracking mechanism, be they a zip code that matches to the credit card or whatever. I don't know what the system is capable of doing.
Right.
So that we can match back if those people do come online, because that's a cross-pollination that we've been trying, but we don't know how effective it is. So we'll hand out bookmarks in the shop that have the web address, and we do think we get a lot of traffic from that, but we really don't know. We can't confirm that.
Well, I have a bunch of different neat things there. One is because you do book signings and you do events and such. I mean, I would say our mobile device, which I'll show you a picture of in a minute, you could even swipe a driver's license and it adds the customer's name and address from that to the device, and it syncs it and bounces it into Retail Pro. From Retail Pro, we of course tie into wonderful a couple of third-party programs out there. One that does text message marketing but even without adopting a party, we can give off. We're going to say all members who are just our base membership get 10% off when they, or people who donate. And again, I don't know if we've got something where we're donating to the organization or software that does that. A lot of my museums have, do track that, and then they mail out to them and get them back in. And so it just printed this receipt to the screen. It's very fast. I kind of took my time on it, but really it's a 7-second sale or tender print, and it's super fast, and it just goes jump and cuts. This could be a coupon. This could be actually a one-time use coupon too. So if somebody bought a membership and they get 20% off their first order for being a member and having reoccurring, revenue taken, or $25 a month or something, what it does is it gives you the one-time use has its own SID number, system ID number. So when the cashier scans it, it deactivates that 20%. So they can't make photocopies and give it to their friends. It's just going to be the one-time use.
Okay.
So anyway, some neat things there. So it does, it can look the way you want on this receipt. And by that, I want to show you just real quick. I'm pretty visual here, so I like to go show an example of what a receipt can look like. And here's a customer, for example. Actually, excuse me, I don't know that they are a client or this was just worked up for someone, but just to give you a sense of it, this is a watermark from their website in the back and pictures of the product. I mean, so we could, for things that you sell online, maybe you want this to be a little more elegant printout, and we could, do something like this with a total. For a regular receipt, you just want to type your logo and maybe a coupon on the bottom, a return coupon on the bottom. I do want you to see that there's two different donation tools. One is just flashing and this is a little bit dated looking screen, but this can be what the screen looks like for somebody. But the roundup donation can just ask the cashier to round the 95 cents and they say yes, or we can have it be a customer facing device, something like this little guy that is coming up on the screen here. So this one is customer facing, And people like this because we're calling it customer contactless, right? So
Right.
less you have to touch the customer. You've got the glass shields now. We found a place that sells those glass shields. That's not our business, but I'm pointing people to this place in New Jersey because they're just going like hotcakes. But everybody's getting a glass shield, and then the credit card. They do everything on their own. They insert the credit card. They swipe. They can say round my 99 cents for for the operation, obviously, or for some other place that you want, Salvation Army or whatever you want to do there. Anyway, that is one thing. We also have this device for those events, and I was just going to point out that we've got the mobile. This device, I see them at Nike Town, Nordstrom. It's the casing around an iPod or an iPhone, but typically an iPod is what we're suggesting and selling. And then there's iPad minis. So you can ring a full sale on this, sign with your finger, and it emails the receipt. If somebody had to have a receipt for business purposes or whatever, it can print on a little hip printer that is, a hip printer in your pocket on your belt, or within earshot of, it's a little printer we have in a corner somewhere that you go rip off and hand to them.
Okay.
But ideally, it's emailing the receipt. It's kind of nice to have a little spot in the center of the store somewhere where you're kind of a line buster, helping keep the
Right.
register short.
Right.
But they do everything. So you could point it to store one day and do a physical, point it to store two the next day and do a physical. It does spot checking. It tells you what's mismarked, mispriced. This is a really nice unit. They're, it's a luxury piece. They're a couple $1,000s, but it's like you're able to do receiving, purchasing, upload to any document in Retail Pro essentially, and they sign with their finger, email that receipt, so it even has the POS part. And this is the one that swipes the driver's license as well.
Okay.
So I do like to tell people about it. It is something I think people mostly add that later. Just to show you there, let me find there it is, the mobile presentation, just to give you a back look of it, because the back of it is let me scroll through and find it. There it is. So you can see this is where you could swipe a credit card, and you're scanning out of the top. So you're scanning the items, swiping the credit card, and signing with the finger. And then there is a chip that's the little square device that is on a lanyard, and people are inserting the credit card in the lanyard on their neck. And my only problem with that is they tend to go off to lunch and take that with them. but other than that, the hardware hasn't caught up yet with the device that has the chip in the butt of that for us to have that an all-in-one just yet. But anyway, any questions about those? Or
No, they're very nice though.
yeah, they're nice, and we will loan you one mobile unit out of the gate because you've got to get that baseline perfect count. So let's say we take Microsoft Dynamics AX and we import it over, drop in all that data. It'll have zeros. Well, it'll have your quantities, but you want to take one big physical to get a baseline perfect count before you open the doors and go live on Retail Pro. So we do help with that. Okay, so just going back to this a little bit, we're tracking the customer. It's just pretty straightforward as the point of sale section there. We do have a way to just quickly look up your customer's history or items. Doing searches by, like say, by keywords. We do BOGOs and promos, buy one, get one 25% off, and it does it all the smart way. Is there anything that you want to see specifically there, or should I show you the end of day Z out and maybe a couple quick reports since we're getting short on time?
Yes, if you would do that.
Sure.
Since Cheryl's not here, this stuff would be of most interest to her. Basically, you're dealing with the merchant team. Unfortunately, I thought she was on.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I wish I would have taken a roll call there in the beginning. I really apologize.
She's watching, and apparently it's her laptop speaker that's having issues. It's not yours.
Oh, okay.
But she's watching.
Okay, perfect. So the XC out. So our XC out, it's just a sort of a ticker tape at the end of the day. And if I can go in and set it up to, we are a little different in that you can set up a register for opening and closing, and say I want to open, $200 in my base amount, and just like a lot of systems, when you Z out, you're done, and there's no going back to yesterday. But in Retail Pro, it's more like a report that we can go back. If we found a check that was kind of shoved up under the till and it was stuck, and we found it the next day for $50, and we want to go back and fix yesterday, You can absolutely do that. It's just your security level of who you are, and it's not going to delete anything. Again, it's not going to delete permanent history documents. It's going to just make a counteracting document or another one, so you can see the whole paper trail of what happened. You can match up, what credit cards didn't reconcile, and then push it through and say, go ahead and reconcile that for me. And it is going to give you sort of that end of day. Let me print this to the screen so you can see it. And we do a lot of sports teams, retail pros, and Dodgers, Cardinals, Padres, all the big teams. Not that they're playing anymore, but but we do like I say, the hard goods and soft goods, T-shirts and hats and foam fingers, and that's what we do well. So anyway, the very top of this would be your logo. We would have the sales and the returns and the net, just all the ins and outs of the drawer, gift certificates, deposits. If we took anything in to do special orders for people, you'd see all that broken out really nicely. Paid in and paid out, and the net, it's basically the receipt count at the register, anything that changed quantities. And then at the very end, if I had any Visa, MasterCard, that could be broken out here too. And sometimes people print that twice, and that goes in the zip, money bag that's going to the bank as your deposit slip.
Yeah, that's what we do.
There you go. So it's just a nice, simple thing. But if I needed to run yesterday, I can run yesterday. And if I needed to run 30 minutes ago because I think something weird happened at the register, I can do that too.
Is there a report that can reconcile all of the registers for a given day?
Absolutely. That's something called a tender rec with us. So tender rec, I'm going to pop the reports real quick and show you a few of these. And I've PDF'd them so that you can see just some of my sample reports. But so I'll email this to you. Our system comes with about 220 canned reports that just everybody needs, bestsellers and worst sellers and tender rec reports, end of day. And they're just down here. So you'll be able to just see them by name. They started with sales or purchasing or, shift reports and things like that. But this tender rec by store by, here's one by store, here's one by, I'm not sure what the DAT means, excuse me. But when I run it, it's going to just give me, and I can make it a little bigger here. So I've got a San Francisco store and I've got an Orlando store. I've got two different store locations there, and it's got the receipt date, cash, check, Visa, MasterCard. So it's kind of a summary of all tender types, Amex, Discover. We could do, the debit, the gift certificate, and so forth. Some of our teams, as an example, might do Padre bucks or something. They might have their own tender. That could even be broken out here if you'd like. So anyway, this is just a simple tender rec. There's, let's see if there was any others in this. I think I'll show you just a couple other quick ones that I think are neat. There's a tax report. So just your base tax. You may not need to worry about it.
We don't need to worry about that.
Okay, sorry, I just realized that. I said taxes out loud.
That's one of the glorious things about being a government agency.
And same for the not-for-profits. So I've got, I'm going to send you the core reports is what I wanted to do. So here is, if you did take the time to do a picture, certain things, especially if you're doing a lot of prints and documents, some of them can kind of blur together. So it's just something to kind of have a nice, just a nice picture next to the report itself. You can do that, especially if we're taking the time for the web. There's a fabulous security report that I think people absolutely love. And because we're Crystal now, we've taken multiple reports from our past system that had to be 2 or 3 different areas and combined them into this one Crystal report that shows by store, by cashier. There's John and Mary and New and the system administrator. The total number of transactions. Every time they void something in the system, we see a quantity there. Every time they exit POS. And this one's important because we actually had a client of ours who had a person who was backing out of the sale and she wasn't printing the receipt. So if somebody wears a jacket out, it's $100 and they throw down a $100 bill. They don't want their penny. It's $99.99 and they don't even want the receipt. They're taking the tags off. They're wearing it out. She thinks she made $100 because she didn't give them a receipt. She didn't even finish it and she exited out of POS. So you can see that here. How many times are they exiting POS? And then if the quantity's off, you can see who exited on that and even drill down to the exact sale. And there's secret invoices that are made in the background. every time someone pops the cash drawer with the F8 key, that a secret invoice is made. If they reboot the system and they're going to say lightning struck, a secret invoice is made. Negative returns, things like that. So all the anything that they're doing that we had one person who was taking things off of the receipts, like 20 items, and then she was reducing it by a lot of items. Now, if you get one or two, somebody put something back, they didn't want it. That's all logical. But when you get 30 or 40, and it's not, it doesn't match the transactions, that's when you have to take a deeper dive look at that. So anyway, this is something that can go automatically to board members, to anybody every day, automatically. Nobody has to do anything. Reports can go to people that just need kind of a view of the day, tender rec or whatever they need.
All right.
And then, stats reports, we do turn and stock to sell and days of supply and turn or GMROI. So things that are, gross margin return on investment, for every dollar you spent on that, stretch, cotton, linen, something, how many dollars did you get back? So anyways, those are kind of the quick reports, and I'll send you a chunk of them, about 60 of them, to see. Is there anything in the way of reporting that I didn't show you that you have questions on or would like to see?
I don't. How about you guys? Because I've seen the presentation before through another company. I just wanted to, I'm getting more serious now, and I wanted the people who are going to have to use whatever system.
The only thing that pops in my mind is like a report for sales for an item over like a month or over a month, like all the months of the year. Show me how many pencils we sold,
Yeah, definitely. And we have wonderful like aging report by item. This was one that I'll send you a bunch of these that you can kind of pop through. But here, just to give you a sense of it, is I can do a sold report by, this uses a department. That's an accessory bag department, or the vendor. We have a vendor code and a full vendor name. So if if you don't know it by ALA, we could have the full vendor name there. The description of the product, the attribute or size, the price and cost. I have them stacked there, but we could do it columns or however you like. You literally could handwrite reports the way you want to see it, or if you're in love with certain ones out of AX, you can send them my way and I'll redo them and I'll send them to you before you guys even sign up with us, just so you can feel confident that we can do what you want us to do there. We like to do that for your top 5 reports anyway. And then the data type here is basically showing. My trainer broke it out into 0, 6, basically periods, so you can see like what things should be marking down, what things have been here a really long time, So this is more like an aging report, but we could give you sold, received, on order, days of supply, things that you care about as columns here too. And I like how they kind of broke it out, like going down here a little bit. He broke it out by, oh, no, this isn't the one I was thinking of. Sorry, there was a core report that I liked that he did, like here's just best selling with quantity sold. That might be one that, so you can see what things you should get more of and then what things should we mark down. And he broke it out with like, here's like pants and shorts and things that, men's apparel, pants. So he just a little bit different way to view it. It literally is really pliable with the column headers and the page breaks and all this stuff here too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you speak to us a little bit about inventory valuation and how Retail Pro is set up? Like, how does it evaluate on-hand inventory? Is it landed? What goes into the calculation? It sounds real straightforward, but we've had a lot of complications with that in our current system.
Well, when it comes to like for the costing, I mean, being able to discount properly is one important thing, because if you buy $100,000 worth of product at cost and then it gets discounted, and we can do mass discounts, and like I said, like say, take 10% off of all this and mark it down from $100 to $90. So if you're taking that $100,000 and you mark it down to $80,000, that's what's, and forgive me, you're not worried about taxable. You're talking about, pardon me, and also because you have an accounting system built into Retail Pro, into your current AX system, I'm just trying to think what you're going for there. You're not worried about the cost valuation for tax purposes.
Not for
worried
tax
about?
value, no, just for actually is the average running inventory on any given SKU. We
Oh,
found a
I
lot
got
of anomalies between SKUs, and
you.
some calculated it with landed cost, some calculated it without landed cost. We couldn't figure out the time period with which it was calculating the valuation. So there were a lot of anomalies that came up.
Well, I'd probably want to do a call with my VIP trainer, who's Jeff Kendall, and he forgot. He used to run a group of marshals shops out in Vegas, and he's been with us almost as long as I've been here, but he's been in a trainer capacity. So from a simple costing, there's a lot of switches in Retail Pro where we can set it so that you receive 5 at $5, you receive 5 at $10. It'll average the cost to $7.50. We're talking about landed costs that with and without landed costs. That really is going to be for the true valuation. That'll be Jeff's question. But I actually will send you some things he's written on the topic to your email as well, so that you've got it.
Okay.
But I can say that there are 3 switches. You can set it to within Retail Pro. You can set it to average the costs. You can set it to override the costs, and that might be if you've got a crazy great deal and it's a container coming from China on these keychains, and you usually get them for a buck, you're getting them for 25 cents. You don't want it to skew your cost. You might say override, or leave it. So it's average, override, leave, or let me choose every switch is a dangerous switch. So I can 95% choose to average. And again, I think I know that the valuation thing is a different conversation for
yeah, it actually, it's far more complicated than just the simple math part of it.
Right.
We just found anomalies in how it was actually calculating in our system. So we get audited periodically, and that's something that we were flagged for on our audit.
Well, I listened to him talk about it. He talks about re-rolling the end of month and all sorts of crazy stuff that is a little bit beyond me. I know the basics. And when you talk about simple math, I'm a simple sales rep. He's definitely a whole other place that is, and he deals with the U.S. mints as our client. He took 25-cent piece that you sell for $10 and took out the 25 cents that's a cash exchange and made the rest taxable. He's the brainy guy on staff here. So. Anyway, I would set up a call, but I'll send you his documentation that he's done on landed costing and the cost valuation in Retail Pro. And then I know he's probably going to want to ask you questions directly.
Right.
So maybe we'll just set it up. And
that's probably enough for me to assess anyway. I just kind of want to see how the system handles. I'm not necessarily looking to do a deep dive. I just know it's a area that I have to remedy with whatever system I buy. And so I want to make sure I understand that documentation.
And I'll send you some documentation, and we'll send you the reports to everybody who attended the meeting. We'll get a copy of this, the YouTube video that everyone can watch at their leisure there. And then documents like this is a rollout plan of signing up in June. We're typically a 3-month system to get live. We can shorten it, because of the COVID. We've had a lot of people canceling some trainings and certain things. So certainly, if you've got time, we've got time to get this in place a little bit faster now. So, and for some people, it's just focus on the web and get that going. And some people, it's, get the inventory under control, and we'll do the web as a phase 2. So,
okay.
Anyways, well, I'll make sure I follow up and send everybody the documents, and we'll keep the conversation going.
Very good.
All right. Any other questions? Anyone on call?
I don't have any.
I'm good.
Okay, wonderful. Well, you guys, thank you for joining. I'll send this to you by email, and we'll follow up in a bit.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
You too.
Bye.
Bye-bye.